At the end of the year, layoffs were actually cut to the main artery. Although Lin Yi didn't want to admit it, after weighing it again and again, he still chooses to argue with his immediate boss. But as soon as he finished speaking, the next second, all his belongings were thrown out like garbage. Manager Yu Lily seems to have wanted to get Lin Yi out for a long time. Not only do I want him to get out, but I also want him to get out of here immediately. The handsome game completely failed, and Lin Yi also ended up leaving. He couldn't understand how it, as the backbone of the business, could end up in such a situation. I am most afraid of the sudden silence of the air, and I am most afraid of the sudden concern of my girlfriend. Lin Yi hurriedly picked up his girlfriend Liu Cici's phone, and he was flustered. After all, he hadn't figured out how to explain his unemployment to her. Blessings and disasters do not go alone. On the other end of the phone, a familiar voice said the most decisive words. Lin Yi, let's break up. Lin Yi was a little devastated, thinking that he would be able to be comforted by his girlfriend. Turned out to be a breakup, and it forced Liu Cici to ask if he had a new love. But she said that even if you have someone, what can you do? After so many years with you, you are still a dick. I don't want to throw my good youth on you. Today is definitely an unforgettable day for Lin Yi. Unemployment and lover, a double whammy. He was in the elevator and was melancholy. Suddenly, an inexplicable noise caught his attention. Looking at the beautiful woman who suddenly appeared in front of him, Lin Yi didn't react yet. The beauty introduced herself as a system mother of the whole professional experience system. It's your servant Ling Wei. Ling Wei is Lin Yi's popular science. Every week, you can experience a new class, and as you complete the corresponding missions, you can unlock the ultimate rewards and finally become a global boss. Could this be the legendary system? It seems that the time is in motion, and the feng shui takes turns. Lin Yi's face could no longer see sadness, because the system pops up a big package. Congratulations on getting the Horn Driver Registration Gift Package. 10,000 yuan. A 30 million controlling stake in the peninsula and a sports car. The invincible pie that fell from the sky completely made Lin Yi forget the pain of unemployment and loveless. With this money, you can be a driver for the rest of your life. But Ling Wei reminded him that each profession can only be experienced for 1 week, not a lifetime. As she spoke, Ling Wei took out the claim card of the Peninsula Hotel from her breast pocket, as well as the car keys worth 30 million sports cars. At this moment, Lin Yi's mobile phone also received a text message. It shows the bank card in his name and received a transfer of 10 million. But at this time, he wanted to see the sports car all the way to the underground road. The C area where the sports car is parked is a place that you can't think of on weekdays. At this moment, the figure of Ji Tianyan, the president of Ji's family, broke into view. Her graceful and sexy figure directly made Lin Yi unable to take his eyes off. Didn't notice anything wrong with Ji Tianyan's car. When he was relieved, he hurriedly asked, Mr. Ji, is your car broken? Unexpectedly, Ji Tianyan still remembered that there was such a number one person as Lin Yi. Immediately made Lin Yi smile and hurriedly asked her if she needed to give you a ride. Unexpectedly, the first order as a driver was preempted by others. I don't know where a kid came out of nowhere, and he moved his hands and feet at Ji Tianyan. I also want to kiss the back of her hand. Frightened, Ji Tianyan hurriedly pulled out his hand. Even Lin Yi couldn't stand the greasy movements. He protected Ji Tianyan behind him and said that he would send her to her destination. The hairy boy is still unrelenting, saying that Lin Yi is a small employee. What kind of good car can he drive? Why don't you take my 1 million worth of sports cars? As he was talking, he didn't expect Ji Tianyan to suddenly stop. She saw a Pagani sports car worth 30 million. This is a top-of-the-line sports car that I have never seen before. How can it appear here? But what made her even more unexpected was that the owner of this car was Lin Yi, a former employee of her. Seeing this, the hairy boy directly laughed at him for bragging. But in the next second, Lin Yi really opened the car door, solemnly invite Ji Tianyan to get into the car, finally waiting for the opportunity to fight back. Lin Yi said lightly, if you want to pick up a girl, let's change your broken car first. Realizing that he had eyes and in no mount tie, the hairy boy suddenly changed his face. Please take me for a ride. Lin Yi didn't say anything and kicked the accelerator, leaving him with exhaust and a covered face. Also feeling incredible is Ji Tianyan. Is this really your car? Aren't you a small employee in the sales department? Lin Yi naturally understood the meaning of her words, but he can't reveal his identity. He can only say that he is a rich second generation who experienced this life. Also invited Ji Tianyan to place an order on the speaker. My first business, of course, is to the beauty in front of me. With a prompt sound from the APP, Lin Yi also officially started his career as a driver, all the way to the Housing and Urban Rural Development Bureau. The chic sports car parked on the road is very eye-catching. When he arrived at the destination, Ji Chen did not forget to leave a good review on the order. Looking at her beautiful and charming smiling face, Lin Yi only felt that this job was worth it than anything. Ling Wei appeared out of thin air again and brought Lin Yi good news. Congratulations to the host for completing the first order, and the reward is 50,000 proficiency points and 50 million yuan. A reward of 50 million for just one order. Wouldn't it be able to make it to the top of the list of whether to obey or not in that week? In order to celebrate his makeover, Lin Yi came to the Peninsula Hotel that Ling Wei gave him. Unexpectedly, his ex-girlfriend Liu Cixi was actually there, and her new boyfriend Yan Ji was still standing next to her. Yan Ji is an out-and-out rich second generation, and Liu Cixi naturally wants to give him a hug. It was Yan Ji who was the first to discover Lin Yi's existence. The poor ex-boyfriend actually appeared here, which really surprised Liu Cixi. Poor ghost. What are you doing here? Yan Ji was also unceremoniously humiliating him both inside and out. If you want to come here to spend, he is not qualified enough. Liu Cixi did even more. She turned her head and called the security guards who were guarding on the side and asked them to throw Lin Yi out. There was a sound of footsteps, and the security guards came one after another. At this time, Yan Ji was ready to watch the show, but the security guards actually called him Mr. Lin and bowed down to him respectfully. This scene made Liu Cixi and Yan Ji a little suspicious. Could it be that this world had collapsed? It's just a small salesman. How can he get the security guard to bow to him? Don't. He's the boss. This terrifying idea soon became a reality. With the appearance of the manager, the belated regret made Liu Cixi want to cut off his intestines. I actually missed a rich second generation. On the other side, Lin Yi came to the office and watched the manager bring stacks of documents, only to feel that his head was big. He decided not to interface in the operation of the hotel, and everything continued to operate according to the previous model. At this moment, there was a sharp knock on the door. There are guests who want to complain about our hotel, and now the housekeeping department can't stop it. Hearing what the person said, the manager's face instantly became nervous. Lin Yi, who heard the reason clearly, decided to go out in person to solve the complaint of the hosts. When he came to 1704, Lin Yi knocked on the door unhurriedly. Get straight to the point and introduce yourself as the person in charge of the hotel. We will definitely arrange your requirements to your satisfaction. What Lin Yi said, Gu Jinshu didn't hear it at all. Because of Lin Yi's handsomeness, she has been deeply captured. Seeing that there was still room for relaxation, Lin Yi hurriedly gave up his Pagani to this beauty. When Gu Jinshu heard Pagani's 3 words, she was still a little hesitant. After all, I have never driven such an expensive sports car. In line with the fact that the customer is God, Lin Yi immediately said, where do you want to go? I can drive you. Gu Jinshu stopped prevaricating, turned around and went to the room to change clothes. As everyone knows, the transparent glass shows her figure vividly. The low-cut dress highlights a perfect furrow on her chest. Lin Yi was dumbfounded again. At the same time, Liu Cixi, who was full of remorse, just wanted to break up the relationship with Yan Ji. But Yuan Jie directly debunked her. Do you think Lin Yi can still look down on you now? It's a dream. Liu Cixi didn't take his words to heart. After all, he has a relationship foundation for several years. As long as he is coquettish and cries a few times, he will definitely come back and get back together. When the best friend on the side heard her say this, she could only sigh that her life was not good, and she didn't meet a rich second generation who loved her. While talking, the scene of Lin Yi and Gu Jinshu walking down the stairs side by side stunned Liu Cixi again, but she couldn't hesitate and rushed to Lin Yi in a flash. At this time, Lin Yi only hated that he loved the wrong person at the beginning, got along every day and night. But I didn't find that Liu Cixi was a villain who hated the poor and loved the rich. Liu Cixi didn't care about anything else and cried out with a frown, speaking of the bits and pieces of the past. Have you forgotten them? Gu Jinshu is not easy to handle. She caressed Lin Yi's chest affectionately, and the hostess' posture made Liu Cixi even more angry. Lin Yi was not polite, and as soon as he stretched out his hand, he hugged Gu Jinshu's slender waist. The two looked at each other affectionately. The air was filled with little pink hearts, as if they were about to overflow the screen. After the show of affection is over, it's time to say that you have left. Only Liu Cixi was left with a stern face, looking at the back of Lin Yi leaving, and talking about the former vows and alliances. It's these nonsense words that love says when it's dizzy. Listening to Lin Yi's ears, I felt that it was particularly ugly. The said composite drama was not staged, leaving only Liu Cixi, who wanted to cry without tears. Lin Yi took Gu Jinshu to the garage, and the episode just now did not affect the mood of the two of them. Gu Jinshu said that she was going to the splendid hotel, where her classmates were holding a wedding. Lin Yi agreed with a smile as he started the vehicle. Smoothly came to the splendid hotel, which is no less splendid than the Peninsula Hotel. At this time, there was a group of beautiful women standing at the door of the hotel. They are all Gu Jinshu's classmates. However, it seems that the relationship is not friendly. With the debut of Lin Yi's sports car, it instantly attracted everyone's attention. Just when they were wondering who was sitting in the car, it was Sacred. Seeing Gu Jinshu's figure walking down from the car, they had no choice but to withdraw their surprised gaze. Gu Jinshu did not leave in a hurry, but turned around to seek Lin Yi's help. I helped you once, and now it's your turn to help me. Lin Yi didn't refuse. He leaned out of the car window and said loudly, "Have fun, my dear." At the end of the magical day, Lin Yi drove back to his rented community. At this time, someone was snatching a mobile phone from the rental house. It is Shang Jingjing, the daughter of landlord Wu Jinlan. She persuaded her mother to give Lin Yi a few more days, and he would definitely be able to pay the rent. This move directly provoked Wu Jinlan's anger. How do you run if someone runs? I warn you, stay away from such poor workers. When the mother and daughter were arguing, Lin Yi had already pushed open the door. Naturally, he heard the quarrel just now, so he got straight to the point, saying that he would move immediately, pack up his things and leave immediately. When Wu Jinlan heard that he was leaving, he was afraid that he would not want to make up the rent arrears before. But Lin Yi didn't say anything, just operated a few times on his phone. Almost at the same time, Wu Jinlan's mobile phone also rang. It's a text message from the bank. Exactly 2 months of rent. The extra rent made Wu Jinlan very puzzled. Lin Yi hurriedly explained, because he was sorry for the rent arrears many times before, and this was compensation. The world's difference in change made Wu Jinlan not react. Did he have any new plans? Lin Yi only said that he recently ran orders on the Horn platform, but he went from being a salesman to a driver. Lin Yi's impression in her heart still hasn't changed, but when she saw the valuable sports car parked in the yard, she still didn't associate it with Lin Yi, still taunting him. The broken car you drove before, why didn't you drive it today? It wasn't until Lin Yi took out Pagani's car keys that Wu Jinlan's mouth was completely blocked. Disbelief was written all over her face. The poor worker who rented his house was able to drive such a good car. Lin Yi had a showdown. Part-time work is just me experiencing life. In fact, my real identity is a rich second generation. As soon as he finished speaking, he kicked the accelerator and left. Only the stunned mother and daughter were left. Fortunately, Wu Jinlan is very realistic. In the past, they loved to ignore him, but now he is high. They can't climb high. Zhang Jingjing, you don't want to review his son. Then he drove all the way back to the Peninsula Hotel, and the manager also intimately prepared a presidential suite for him. I tasted the craftsmanship of a 5-star chef again, which was really good. After being full of wine and food, Ji Tianyan sent another text message. She finished her errands at the Housing and Urban Rural Development Bureau and wanted Lin Yi to pick her up. In the face of the request of the Beauties, Lin Yi has always not known how to write the 2 words of refusal. Watched Ji Tianyan sit in the car. Although her face was tired, it was still difficult to hide her stunning face. Lin Yi asked her to continue to place orders on the speaker platform. As long as you continue to complete your professional proficiency, making a fortune is not a dream. Although I don't understand why this rich second generation can't think about it so much. Ji Tianyan still obediently placed an order on his mobile phone. Does he have any ulterior secrets? Thinking of this, Ji Tianyan decided to make a good deal of adjustment to solve the doubts in his heart. Suddenly, Ling Wei appeared again, startling Lin Yi. Fortunately, except for the host, no one else can see it. Ling Wei looked at Ji Tianyan and spoke highly of it. The system score is as high as 85 points, which is really good looking. Ling Wei then congratulated Lin Yi. Congratulations to the owner for successfully receiving the second order, triggering the system task, picking up to Beauties with more than 85 points, and rewarding 10,000 proficiency. As for the Beauties with more than 85 points, please refer to Ji Tianyan. At this time, Ji Tianyan was unaware that he had been hit by the system mother with the highest score of 85. She was worried about a press conference that the company wanted to hold, and contacted the city's 5-star hotels, but none of them could vacate the venue. Speaking of the hotel, Lin Yi is in the middle of it. He kindly reminded you to visit the Peninsula Hotel. Speaking of the Peninsula Hotel, it is a super 5-star hotel, although not afraid to spend money, because it is impossible to set it. Lin Yi retorted lightly, that's not necessarily. Life is full of surprises. Don't believe you try. A few words coaxed Ji to smile, and immediately decided to change the direction and go to the Peninsula Hotel. A sports car with excellent performance drifts handsomely on the road. Ji Tianyan in the car had a whim, and wanted to make a bet with Lin Yi. if the hotel can talk about it. What reward do you want? Lin Yi thought about it. Why don't you come to 10 squats and exercise? By the way, Ji Tianyan, who didn't know why, checked Dunyam, only to find that this squatting action was so shameful. But I remembered that I had just called the manager of the hotel, and the other party had already made it clear that there was no place. It is estimated that this bet will not be lost. And Ji Tianyan also generously agreed. I'm not a man of words. The men had different minds and made their way back to the peninsula. Ji Tianyan found the front desk and asked about the hotel schedule again. As long as you squeeze out time, you can say anything. The front desk saw Lin Yi gesturing to himself, and he also understood that this was a little fun for the boss to play, laughing and not debunking. Let them go to the manager to talk in detail. The manager who got the news was also conscientious and did not debunk Lin Yi's identity. Ji Tianyan got straight to the point, asked about the hotel's recent arrangements. There was any time left for her. It's not hopeful, but the bet has already been made, so it's better to give it a try. I didn't expect the manager to agree. The surprise that suddenly arrived made Ji Tianyan somewhat believe what Lin Yi said. Life is full of surprises. Things have an ending, and the bet is self-evident. Lin Yi was also afraid that she would regret it, so Ji Tianyan had no choice but to say, I'm the president of the group. How can my words not count? Unexpectedly, Lin Yi made a trick and helped her fasten her seat belt in a very ambiguous posture. Seeing that he couldn't run away, Ji Tianyan's heart sank. There's not enough space in the car, so why don't you go to my house? The words hit Lin Yi's heart, pedaled the accelerator to the end, and drove all the way towards Ji Tianyan's mansion. It is worthy of the vision of the president, and even the decoration of the villa is unique. When they arrived at the door, Ji Tianyan was full of shyness. Are you going to watch it now? It's better to wait. Lin Yi, who was obviously very idle, pretended to be very busy and kept urging, I'll have something to do in a while, so you can do it quickly. 2 patches of crimson climbed up Ji Tianyan's cheeks. After all, this kind of large-scale action is also her first attempt. Without time to hesitate, Ji Tianyan adjusted his posture, but Lin Yi, on the other side, was already so excited that his nose bleeded. The 10 squats are still continuing, and the sexy and bewitching figure makes Lin Yi want to stop. As everyone knows, all of this was seen by Ji Tianyan's father. The sudden change frightened Ji Jin's face. Even Lin Yi's face had the word embarrassment written on it. Ji Tianyan was very surprised when he saw his father's arrival, and the father and daughter were also speechless, and the whole atmosphere became tense. The father was the first to speak, breaking the awkward atmosphere. I shouldn't be here. Should it be under the car? Look how sweet you guys are. Ji Tianyan knew that Ba Cheng had been misunderstood, so he hurriedly explained. Lin Yi is a yoga personal trainer invited by himself, and Lin Yi is also blindfolded. Unexpectedly, my father was a person with common sense in life, and he ridiculed him. You don't know anything about me as a bad old man. The coach only watches from above. People are just getting started. Ji Tianyan tried his best to explain that Lin Yi was a senior personal trainer, but his father didn't want to talk too much. He asked Ji Tianyan to flash aside, and he wanted to interrogate Lin Yi personally. As he spoke, he carried a strong cordion, Saturday down next to Lin Yi. Young man, what's your name? How old are you? Where is the household registration? Where is the high hall? But an only son. This whole interrogation insisted on asking Lin Yi's household registration book. When he learned that Lin Yi was a taxi driver, he was shocked with a whole capital letter. A taxi driver. What kind of sports car do you have to drive to catch up with my daughter? Lin Yi scratched his head embarrassedly. Uncle is really wise. I'm just a regular driver who drives Pagani as a taxi. Unexpectedly, Pagani at the door was actually Lin Yi's car. He changed his face at that time and kept praising Lin Yi, who was not a little better than those gentlemen. Seeing that Ji's father was about to hand over his life to Lin Yi, Ji Tianyan hurriedly stepped forward to explain that the relationship between himself and Lin Yi was not what his father thought, but he naturally didn't care about that. And before leaving, he also sent an invitation to Lin Yi. I hope he can come to guide Grandpa Ji on his 80th birthday. When Ji Tianyan heard this, he was also speechless. After her father left, Ji Tianyan stabilized her mind, and she said to Lin Yi embarrassedly, my father misunderstood us. There is a way to know the current affairs for the handsome. How to completely resolve the misunderstanding. Lin Yi's method is to make a calculation and cook the raw rice into rice. Ji Tianyan was overwhelmed by Lin Yi's sudden move, but Lin Yi is like a cheetah locking on his prey, and Ji Tianyan didn't resist much. She said coquettishly that since the misunderstanding was so profound, that can only be broken. Ji Tianyan's attitude made Lin Yi even more unscrupulous. I saw him reach for Ji Tianyan's thigh with his hand. However, Ji Tianyan's sudden reaction intensified and pushed Lin Yi away. Lin Yi hurriedly said, that he wanted to emphasize the training of this part of the muscle group, and Ji Tianyan was also speechless when he heard this. This is really a concubine who is ruthless. At this moment, Lin Yi's mobile phone rang again. It turned out to be Wang Ying, a colleague from the former company, and the other party said, "When you leave, many colleagues are reluctant to let you go, so let's have a practice meal together in that evening." The face of an old colleague cannot be left untreated, so Lin Yi hurriedly said goodbye to Ji Tianyan, and Ji Tianyan, who was dissatisfied, could only scold the hooligan. Turning his head, Lin Yi came to the Yipinju Hotel that he had made an appointment with Wang Yin. When Wang Yin saw Lin Yi, she immediately warmly beckoned him to take a seat. At this time, all the colleagues have arrived. Then, Wang Ying blamed Lin Yi and resigned. Why was she so impulsive? Working hard in the workplace? Isn't that a daughter-in-law, a mother-in-law? If you endure it, you'll be a sales director. As soon as these words came out, Huang Youwei on the side stopped doing it. Why are you so sure that Lin Yi will definitely be able to be a sales director? In terms of performance, we are comparable. Wang Yin immediately sneered at each other. How did you lick your face and say the word comparable? Obviously, Lin Yi is better than you, Huang Youwei said disdainfully, and Zai Shou was also dismissed. Turning his head, Huang Youwei held a wine glass and congratulated Li Dongzhong, who was about to be promoted to sales director, when the other party says, "Today's protagonist is Lin Yi, who can dominate the crowd." Lin Yi said disdainfully, "How do I feel that you two are not going to see me off, but to show off your might?" Li Dongzhong is not happy. "We are kind enough to send you. I don't know what you plan to do in the future, or go back to the countryside to raise pigs." Huang Youwei added, "He is an orphan and has a hard time raising himself." Huang Youwei said while picking up the wine glass, "I see. I am more familiar with the property manager of our community. Why don't you come to me and be a janitor for me?" Huang Youwei's arrogant attitude made everyone very unhappy. Lin Yi said angrily that he was ready to run a taxi, "So I won't bother you to worry about my work." Just then, a waiter walked in and asked who the owner of the luxury car downstairs was. Lin Yi hurriedly asked if his own Pagani was in the way. Other people who have never seen the world have gathered around the window to admire this legendary luxury car worth tens of millions. The waiter immediately said that Lin Yi's Pagani was blocking the other lanes. "I hope Lin Yi can move the car." Seeing this, the classmates on the side immediately mocked Lin Yi, and the waiter said that it was Pagani. "It's not a broken taxi you run. I saw Lin Yi wing light and took out Pagani's car keys from his pocket. The Pagani is mine, and of course I'll have to ask what the situation is." At this time, Li Dongzhong had already sensed that something was wrong. He asked Lin Yi, "Aren't you an orphan? Where did you get the money to buy such an arrogant super luxury car?" This kind of secular stereotype makes Lin Yi very unhappy, who said that orphans can't drive sports cars and live in bungalows. Right guy. As soon as the words fell, Lin Yi turned to Wang Yin, saying that it was not interesting to eat this meal by himself. "I just sent you home." However, at this moment, someone suddenly stopped Lin Yi, who was about to leave. Li Dongzhong already felt that it was not simple, so he wagged his tail and begged for mercy. But Lin Yi didn't give face at all. "You're about to become a director, and let me have a yarn." After finishing speaking, Lin Yi took Wang Yin, kicked the accelerator, and disappeared in front of everyone. Wang Yin, who Saturday on tens of millions of Pagani for the first time, is no different from Grandma Liu, who has just entered the Grandview Garden for the first time. Wang Yin said to Lin Yi, "I've been working with you for so long, before I realize you're an invisible rich man. But you just said that you were going to go to rental. Is it a joke or a real thing?" Lin Yi said, "Of course it's true." A colleague. The test does not consider the next order now. However, after 2 seconds of not being happy, Lin Yi received a prompt from the system. According to the evaluation, Wang Yin's comprehensive score did not reach the standard score of 85 points, which surprised Lin Yi with 100 million points. He looked Wang Yin up and down again with his peripheral vision. "This is not scientific. How can you give such a low score to this convex and backward, bumpy figure, tight makeup, and slender lines?" On the other side, Wang Yin was looked at by Lin Yi with a shy face. Lin Yi asked Wang Yin if she knew how to effectively enhance her feminine charm. Wang Yin said that this is not simple. "Isn't it just to make yourself charming? What's complicated?" As she spoke, Wang Yin took out a crystal clear black silk from her bag and put it on her feet. Black silk with professional clothes. Wang Yin at this time is not an exaggeration to say that she is a heartthrob. After putting on the black silk, Wang Yin put a POS for Lin Yi again. "Let's see if your sister Yin and I are in this state. Is it the kind of charm you want? What do you think still needs to be scrutinized? Just bring it up. Sister Yin will try her best to be satisfied." Lin Yi can't be regarded as having seen what feminine charm is, so hurry up and let the system score it. Sure enough, after adding the charm of black, the system assessment passed the test directly. as a reward for career completion. Then he needs to go to the manager of Kyushu Pavilion to receive the villa. Hearing this news, it would be irresponsible for oneself to delay one more second. But before going, I still sent Wanin home. After successfully arriving at the destination, Wanin sent an invitation to Linyi with spring water in her eyes. Do you want to go upstairs and talk? My husband is on a business trip today. Linyi is not puzzled. He has said that he still has something. See you next time. It's not that wives and young wives are beautiful, but villas are more seductive. Wanin said goodbye to Linyi with reluctance in her eyes, and Linyi also responded politely. But the mind had already flown into the villa. The next day, Linyi came to the Kyushu Pavilion, real estate sales center according to the requirements of the task, and the residents here are described in 4 words. That is, they are either rich or expensive. Linyi put his hands in his pockets, so chic that he couldn't do it. He felt like the most beautiful boy in the audience. Jung Mun-yu, who heard the sound, looked back and saw that the person who came was actually his former colleague Linyi. How could the stick silk come to such a high-end place? Linyi was obviously a little embarrassed when he saw his old acquaintance, and he told Jung Mun-yu, I came to their manager to ask for the title deed. But Jung Mun-yu actually pushed Linyi out directly. The houses here are small and tens of millions, and hundreds of millions of them are moving. Which one Linyi can buy? However, when real estate manager Won Hui saw Linyi, she directly drove Jung Mun-yu aside. Jung Mun-yu was also a little surprised by Won Hui's attitude. What is the origin of this person? Won Hui showed her full enthusiasm, slowly approaching Linyi. High-level hunters often show people in the most ordinary way. Of course Won Hui knows this truth. Then, she took Linyi's arm, intending to give him a good introduction to the situation here. Jung Mun-yu later reminded Won Hui that this person had no purchasing power at all. Won Hui was furious after hearing this, and she scolded Jung Mun-yu sharply. Let her go to the personnel department immediately to settle this month's salary, and she will not have to go to work from tomorrow. Let Jung Mun-yu try his best to explain that he and Linyi really know each other. He knows all the details, and it is a waste of time to spend time on him. But Won Hui's words directly made Jung Mun-yu stand in place. You know a fart. Mr. Lin bought 9 villas here. Has the grass grown on your grave to make friends with nobles? Bought 9 villas in Chujo Pavilion. This world is so magical. At this moment, Jung Mun-yu is already slumped to the ground in fright, and she couldn't wait to take a sip of wine to wake herself up. Linyi on the side was secretly happy in his heart. This system is amazing. It's not a villa. It's 9 good guys. Pancakes and fruits don't dare to be so branded. Won Hui turned her head to apologize to Linyi frantically, and she said that the pressure on sales performance has been a bit great recently. This employee is crazy, and I hope that Lord Linyi will not remember the villain. Not to mention that Won Hui is a sales manager. An apology with autumn water in his eyes makes Linyi look soft and numb. Forget it. This employee has already been fired by you anyway. However, the autumn wave secretly sent by Won Hui still can't resist the temptation of the villa. At this time, Won Hui had already prepared 9 real estate certificates for Linyi, as well as 9 keys. Linyi threw the 9 villa books in the back seat of the car like rags. This time, it's all alive. If people are lucky, they can't stop it. And former colleague Wanin sent a voice. She told Linyi, you Lily and Li Jongdong were both fired from the company. Although Linyi was a little ecstatic, he felt that he had just walked on his front foot. The 2 were fired, and the speed was comparable to that of a Formula 1 car. Linyi contacted Ji Tianyan, and the other party confirmed the news just now. She also said that as long as Linyi is willing, the position of sales director will be reserved for him. The current Linyi can be regarded as a huge rich man who owns a mansion, and he gave up the position of supervisor to Wang Ying, who reported the news, and Ji Tianyan is also looking for an opportunity to get close to Linyi. At this time, Linyi received a system prompt that if he completed the task, he could get 5 5-star praises and reward to 100,000 proficiency points. Career completion is a quarter of them. After sending Ji Tianyan to the designated location, Linyi asked her to give herself a 5-star review. But such a simple request. Ji Tianyan caught this and teased Linyi. Ji Tianyan said that he was ready to use the 9 squats he owed Linyi before in exchange for a 5-star praise. Linyi thought to himself that the big thing was not good. Don't make yourself lose your evening for the sake of these jujubes. So he said don't praise it anymore, and drove Ji Tianyan out of the car. However, the spring color that is delivered to the mouth is useless. Linyi simply got off the donkey. 9 squats, none of which was missing. The crisp sound of the seat belt buckle pressed the pause button on the ambiguous atmosphere. Ji Tianyan looked at Linyi in the car with a shy face. It was a feeling of unfinished. It's a coincidence This strange scene was bumped into by Wang Ying, who had just been expelled. Lin Yi took the lead and had told the other party that he was just running a taxi, just happened to meet Ji Tianyan. But this kind of behavior of 300 taels of silver here is even more eye-catching. The shrewd Wang Ying immediately reviewed what had happened recently, and she finally came to her senses. No wonder Lin Yi is so ignorant of the world. It turns out to be a related household in the company. Ji Tianyan urged Wang Ying not to be late, which interrupted her, who was thinking about her, looking at the back that is full of legs under the head, and is bumpy. For a moment, Lin Yi also began to think about it. Suddenly, the rapid sound of his mobile phone immediately pulled him back to reality. It turned out to be a 5-star praise given to him by Ji Tianyan. Now it seems that Ji Tianyan is really a woman with a knife mouth and a tofu heart. How hard can a horn driver fight for a 5-star review? 30 million sports cars are used to solicit customers, and they can also meet all the needs of passengers. Lin Yi is checking orders near him. Unexpectedly, the passenger's phone call came in directly. After connecting the phone, the other party asked about Lin Yi's age. Such a strange request. Lin Yi also encountered it for the first time. When he said he was 24 years old, the girl said happily, "Can you please do me a favor? Pretend to be my boyfriend and give you a 5-star review afterwards. As long as there is a good review. Pretending to be a boyfriend is nothing. Follow the address on the order and knock on the door." I didn't expect the person who opened the door to be a genuine beautiful girl, Xia Xinyu, who is a popular anchor. Before the two of them could say more than half a sentence, Xia Xinyu pushed Lin Yi into the house. Lin Yi could only say hello to his aunt, said one question after another, and almost asked Lin Yi's birthday, until Lin Yi talked about his profession, the driver of the horn platform. Suddenly the uncle and aunt felt speechless. Sensing that things were not good, Xia Xinyu hurriedly rushed forward to explain. "In fact, the driver is also quite profitable now, and he bought me all my jewelry." All the explanations are so false to the ears. Xia Xinyu had no choice but to urge them to go out to the party as soon as possible. "As long as you don't continue on the topic of your career, you can talk about anything you want. Why don't you let Lin Yi send you over?" The biggest disadvantage of sports cars is that there are too few seats. Lin Yi scratched his head, a little embarrassed. It was better for his uncle and had to call another car. After thinking about it for a long time, they couldn't think that Lin Yi was driving a sports car, but kept guessing in their minds whether it was Modi. The old couple, who were very dissatisfied, complained all the way and walked all the way to the location of the parking lot. Look at Xia Xinyu with an innocent face. Should this kid bow his daughter's head? Actually found a motorcycle driver as a boyfriend. Of course, the broken thoughts were all heard by Lin Yi, and the best way to thwart rumors is to get your car keys. The door opened in response to the sound. Like an uncle's jaw dropped in shock. The Modi driver has been transformed into a supercar driver. Even Xia Xinyu didn't expect that the driver you randomly selected would actually drive a supercar to solicit customers. The old couple, who smiled, instantly couldn't take care of their daughter, who was still in a daze. One push and a shove pushed her into the car. Although people are sitting in the car, everything that happens in front of them is like a dream. She is very professional, and she also proposed to broadcast live in the car for a while. These small requirements are inconsequential to Lin Yi, as long as there is a 5-star review. Everything else is easy to say. Pick up your phone and start broadcasting smoothly, facing the camera. Xia Xinyu seemed to be a different person, looking at the barrage that kept swiping the screen on the screen. They were all talking about Pagani's expensiveness and what the anchor's identity was. Accidentally saw the message on the barrage. Xia Xinyu also smiled slightly. "This is today's horn car. If you want to sell meat, it depends on whether the driver brother is willing or not. All the way to Times Square. It is full of people, and it is worthy of being the most luxurious shopping mall in the city center." Xia Xinyu, who completed the live broadcast, also gave 5-star praise as agreed. The task was finally completed, and Lane Wei also appeared with a reward. Congratulations to the master for obtaining 200,000 proficiency points, rewarding a Shanghai International Circuit and master-level driving skills. Ling Wei right on Lin Yi's lap as she spoke, so that he didn't hear the content of the reward at all. But the mission is done, and it's time to relax. He stopped Xia Xinyu and wanted to go in with her for a walk. Come to the fruit mobile phone store in the center of the mall, where all the electronic products are expensive. Lin Yi looked around, completely ignoring Xia Xinyu, who was still live broadcasting. I picked a random pass, and finally chose a newly released Fruit 100 mobile phone. Hearing that Lin Yi was going to buy it in the store, Xia Xinyu hurriedly rushed forward. "Brother Yi, do you want to go to the internet to take a look? It's a lot cheaper than the store." Lin Yi said that he had come all the time, and there was no need for that, After speaking, he gently touched Xia Xingyu's hair. While the two were talking, the clerk had already wrapped the phone and suggested that it buy a phone case. After all, it would not be good if it was broken, Lin Yi said while taking the phone. I don't really like to wear condoms and I don't feel well. The clerk also agreed with Lin Yi's idea. Sir, pick a style you like. Lin Yi spread out his palms and said that you misunderstood what I meant. I'm going to buy a few more phones, and if they break, I'll just replace them with new ones. All 5 colors of the phone, and this new all-in-one computer, which also helped me pack 20 units. The consumption method of being more local tyrants shocked Xia Xingyu again, and also shocked all the viewers in the live broadcast room. Even the popularity of the live broadcast room has increased to 5 million. And sure enough, showing off wealth is the king of short videos. As soon as Lin Yi, who finished shopping, walked out of the store, Xia Xingyu couldn't wait to catch up. Brother Yi, do you have anything else you want to buy? Holding the newly bought mobile phone, Lin Yi couldn't remember what else he needed for a while. I turned my head and saw that the shop next door was selling watches, so I might as well buy a watch. This brand of watches can easily be in the hundreds of thousands. Xia Xingyu gushed to the audience in the live broadcast room. I noticed that someone had entered the store, but the store manager didn't want to receive it at all. The female anchor looked like she was here to show off her wealth. Sure enough, Xia Xingyu, who entered the store, filmed everywhere without the slightest intention of buying. The manager is still admiring his skills in recognizing people. After all, we are Jiangxi Danton, except for the super rich. Ordinary small anchors can't afford it. When Xia Xingyu looked at the delicate and dazzling watches of various colors on the display case, he only felt that the down payment of the house was placed on the counter. There is also a price of hundreds of thousands. Xia Xingyu's face suddenly became a little ugly, but Lin Yi didn't think about it that much. He pointed to a watch and asked the clerk to take it out for him. When the manager saw that it was an inconspicuous man who wanted to buy a watch, he instantly raised the threshold, and he had to pay before he could read the watch. The unprecedented sales method made Xia Xingyu understand that this was the manager deliberately making things difficult for them. At this moment, a local boss also walked into the store with his little wife, looked at the big gold chain around the neck of the soil boss, and the dress of the little wife behind him. Lin Yi doesn't have to think about it. He knows that one bed can't sleep with the kinds of people. On the other hand, the manager just now leaned in with a flattering face, also took out the hottest big gold watch at the moment and tried it on for the soil boss. But the little wife was not in a hurry, and in a very exaggerated tone, she asked the boss behind her for a gold watch as a birthday gift. The manager's operation of turning his face faster than turning a book made Lin Yi and Xia Xingyu stunned. The audience in the live broadcast room also began to coax. Jiangxi Danton didn't just buy it. Don't be ashamed. Lin Yi, who was very angry in his heart, rushed directly to ask for an explanation. But the manager is still that snobbish, indicates that the service is decided according to the customer level. And I hope you can understand. To put it bluntly, it means that the dog's eyes look down on people and see people on the plate. The naked ridicule made the manager's face change and change. Xia Xingyu appeared again to play a round game. These people who sell luxury goods are so snobbish. You must not be angry. The manager didn't pretend anymore, and there was a showdown. The two of you are doing live broadcasts here, and you can let you walk into the store, which is to give you face. The two sides were in a lot of trouble, and Xia Xingyu didn't want the audience to see her embarrassing scene, so she wanted to drag Lin Yi to leave quickly. Lin Yi, who was furious, didn't care about which brand of watch was sold opposite the store. I rushed in, found the clerk, and asked to buy a watch without saying a word. But it was the first time he had come to this kind of place, and he didn't expect Xia Xingyu to come for the first time. The two of them were blindsided, and they could only pin their hopes on a barrage in the live broadcast room. But the message on the barrage, in addition to saying that he pretended to be a local tyrant, that is, he slapped his swollen face and became fat. Xia Xingyu hurriedly explained, Brother Yi, don't be angry. I'll kick these people out of the live broadcast room now. But Lin Yi didn't care about these gossips at all. He decided to buy the 175th anniversary model mentioned on the barrage. Hearing this watch, several salespeople instantly showed frightened looks. Lin Yi didn't realize the seriousness of the matter, but took out his wallet in a chic manner. Is there anything you can't sell about this watch? The manager saw that this kid actually had such strength, hurriedly rushed forward and said that this watch was going to be transferred from Europe, and it would be delivered directly to your home when the time came. Xia Xingyu asked with some doubts. Only then did I know that there are only 6 pieces of this watch in the world, which is very precious, and this anniversary edition of the watch costs a full 10 million. The other clerks who got the news didn't care that they were still at work, and they all gathered around to see who was so rich. When Jiangxi Danton's manager, he saw Lin Yi's figure walking out of the store. I just feel that my intestines are repentant. Lin Yi, who consumed 10 million again, became high-spirited. Of course, the manager of Vatcher and Ag didn't want to miss this big customer, so he hurriedly stepped forward to try to win it over. Lin Yi's face instantly became gloomy. I'm afraid that my poor Dick can't reach your service level. The manager knew he was still angry. But the opportunity is so wonderful. Once you miss it, you will come back. She slapped herself with remorse, blaming this mouth, offending the customers, and losing how much commission and bonus she had to lose. After leaving them all, Lin Yi then took out a mobile phone from his pocket. He was going to give it to Xinyu. Excuse me, I've been shopping with me for so long, so let's take this phone as a thank you gift. Xinyu accepted it directly without prevarication. After all, today's shopping trip is really cool. Looking at the back of Lin Yi driving away, Xinyu was still fantasizing about how nice it would be if such a rich person was her boyfriend. Lin Yi, who left them all, came to the Zhonghai International Circuit that Lin Wei talked about. I just wanted to go in and have a visit, but I was told by the front desk that there were distinguished guests today, so it was not open to the public. Lin Yi, who was closed, did not refute, but directly proposed to have an interview with the manager. The young lady at the front desk was full of smiles, not knowing that the man in front of her would be her big boss in the future. Lin Yi was talking, and the door was suddenly pushed open. A man with an unkind face also walked in. His Qin Han, who chartered the venue today. In order to avoid disputes, the young lady at the front desk had to take Lin Yi to the manager's room in the back. Qin Han's arrogance made Lin Yi curious. Why should the entire circuit be closed for him alone? The young lady at the front desk only said that Qin Han was not easy to mess with, and Lin Yi didn't wait to ask too much, and went to the manager's room. When the manager saw Lin Yi coming, he hurriedly asked the young lady just now to serve tea and pour water, but she suddenly heard an unfamiliar title. Let's Mr. Lin, isn't he a customer? The manager said that our racing track has been wholly owned by Mr. Lin, and this place will be surnamed Lin in the future. As he spoke, the manager took out the project information of the racing track one by one. Lin Yi didn't even look at it, so he said that everything was as usual. Why don't you take a stroll around the racetrack? The manager suggested on the side that he would like to find a car and drive to laps for you. It's a pity not to experience it. At this time, on the field, the two cars were speeding and did not give in to each other. Seeing the manager watching the play on the sidelines, a sports car stopped. The person who got out of the car was none other than Qin Han. He scolded the manager for his inaction, but the manager introduced Lin Yi's identity, the only owner of the racing track, who was inspecting his own industry. As soon as these words came out, everyone was stunned. He was so young that he could buy this racetrack. The presence of these people really affects their mood. Lin Yi decisively ordered the eviction of customers and asked the manager to drive these people away. Qin Han knew that the man in front of him was not easy to mess with, so he took out a pack of cigarettes. Lin Yi was not polite and smoked one casually. Qin Han said that he wanted to compete with him, and only those who won could continue to play here. Lin Yi lit a cigarette and took the battle letter. It's just a lapse, and my hands are itchy anyway. Qin Han, who was a villain, hurriedly looked around for Lin Yi's car until Pagani made its debut. The perfect streamlined body made Qin Han's face instantly ugly. My car should be more expensive than yours. Right. Or do you think I'm bullying you with this car? Qin Han said with a huff. That's not true. It's just that my car cost 3 million modifications. And in terms of performance, it definitely doesn't lose to you. Big talk is empty talk after all. And everything is true in the game. 2 sports cars, one black and one white, are already in place on the track. A beautiful and sexy beauty also picked up the flag and prepared to count down. At the sound of an order, the throttle was pressed to the bottom, and the tires made a screeching sound. In just a second, Lin Yi's black Pagani rushed out, leaving Qin Han behind. Even a professional racer would not dare to enter a corner at this speed. If you are not careful, the car will be destroyed and people will die. But Lin Yi disappointed them again. Not only did he lead the way, but he didn't even slow down when he entered the corner. Such crazy racing skills made the crowd of onlookers sigh. This man is an absolute lunatic, and the game was declared over in just a few seconds. Sure enough, it was Lin Yi who won. The beautiful woman also shouted beside her. The boss won, and it drove to handsome. The cool and superb driving skills not only conquered the Beauties, but also conquered the Qin and Han dynasties. He humbly asked Lin Yi for advice on how to maintain high speed when entering corners. Lin Yi did not hide his selfishness and taught him all the skills. Qin Han gave a thumbs up directly after hearing this. The master is really a master. I can educate it and take me with me in the future. Successfully harvested a little fan brother. Linyi's trip was really not in vain. At this moment, a new order came from the platform. Linyi could only say goodbye to the manager, and by the way, invited Chin-Han to come back to play in the future. However, Chin-Han was a little curious. What was so urgent about this big boss? Linyi did not shy away from saying that he was the driver of the horn platform, and remembered to contact me if he needed a car. Of the way, I came to the big villa of Ji Tianyan's family. It's just that Linyi came too quickly, and Ji Tianyan was not ready to go out at this time. But in the next second, a finger gently touched her red lips. Don't be too quick with men. They're all adults. How could Ji Tianyan not understand the meaning of his words? Ashamed, she hurriedly covered her mouth. I was serious. You come in and wait for me a little bit. There are computers over there where you can play games or watch movies. With a curious heart, Linyi wanted to see what good things were stored in Ji Tianyan's computer. And Ji Tianyan, who was blowing his hair, heard Linyi say that there was a new email in the mailbox. So he told him that it should be a business email. No matter how Linyi looks at it, he feels that the content of the email in front of him does not look like a business email. After a closer look, I found that it was the shipping information of online shopping. The 360 black lace lingerie you purchased has been shipped. Ji Tianyan didn't care about his wet hair and hurriedly rushed out of the bathroom. A dodge is right in front of the computer screen. All my little privacy has been seen. Ji Tianyan was only busy covering the screen, forgetting that there was still water under his feet. One accidentally fell directly to the ground. At the last moment, Linyi made a decisive move and also rushed towards Ji Tianyan. But after all, it was a step too late. Not only did she not hug her, but she also ripped off her bath towel. When Ji Tianyan regained his balance, he realized that he was no longer an inch in the first second. Linyi on the other side was panicked and wanted to put the bath towel back on Ji Tianyan's body. The two of you pushed me, and Ji Tianyan's perfect figure came into view again. Linyi was unfortunate and had another nosebleed. Ji Tianyan, who came back to his senses, could only shout wildly, I was innocent all my life, but I didn't expect to be seen by others. I could only run back to the bathroom desperately, still shouting, how will I see people in the future? When Ji Tianyan came out of the bathroom again, he had already changed into a dress, and his figure was even sexier. Participating in a class reunion must kill the audience. Linyi looked at Ji Tianyan with an obscene expression. With this figure and this outfit, it is enough to participate in the beauty pageant. And this dress seems to be very suitable for squats. Speaking of squats, Ji Tianyan's face turned crimson again. Isn't it just 9 squats? I haven't forgotten. With that, she asked Linyi to close the curtains, and she would show Linyi now. In this case, hesitating for half a second is a great insult to one's gender. Linyi closed the curtains. The big horn leaned back on the sofa and said to Ji Tianyan, I'm ready. You can start at any time. Ji Tianyan didn't talk nonsense, and his white heels hit the floor. The show officially began. The convex and backward figure, coupled with a very feminine writhing. Sure enough, it's a visual feast. Looking longitudinally, there are mountains and mountains. This woman should only be in heaven, and the world can get a few times. After dancing the song, Ji Tianyan was already tired and out of breath. The promise has been fulfilled, and now it is time to set off for Zhongtong Hailu Wei. At this moment, I don't know what Linyi has done. I actually rushed straight into the bathroom. It wasn't until half an hour later that Linyi walked out of the bathroom refreshed. But as soon as the two arrived at the door, Linyi suddenly stopped. Ji Tianyan hurriedly asked the reason. It turned out that he had met an acquaintance. Ji Tianyan was a little surprised. Could he still meet acquaintances here? Linyi said that he just met yesterday, but you should know him better. Ji Tianyan hurriedly fixed his eyes. These two people were indeed very familiar with each other. I can't say that I know the roots, but I know everything about it. The people who came were none other than Ji Tianyan's parents. The atmosphere became awkward again, and the four people looked at each other with 4 pairs of eyes. Ji's father lived up to expectations and broke the deadlock. He asked playfully, Are you done? When Ji Tianyan heard this, his face immediately burned like fire. Hurriedly asked when Father Ji came. Father Ji said frankly that he had been answering for a while, and he didn't dare to bother when he saw that the curtain was drawn on your door. Ji Miu on the side also offered to find assistance. Silly girl, what are you shy? It's not 17 or 8. This is a normal need of adults, and your father and I both understand. Ji Tianyan was speechless. This was really a misunderstanding of his father's shoulder of the misunderstanding. The misunderstanding was big. She hurriedly explained that she was just changing clothes, but Ji's mother didn't care about this explanation. In order to give the two of them enough road for two, Father Ji hurriedly pulled away his gossipy wife. Before Ji's mother left, she didn't forget to tell Linyi and he didn't treat you as an outsider. Grandpa will celebrate his 80th birthday the day after tomorrow. You must come. Lin Yi scratched his head in embarrassment and agreed, but I thought in my heart that the hospitality of this old couple was really a racist enthusiasm. The old couple whispered and laughed as they left the residence. Only the two people with a confused face were left. Lin Yi pondered for a long time and squeezed out a sentence. Mr. G, are we still going? G said shyly. Go. Of course you have to go. Soon, the two arrived at the pre-agreed meeting at Zhongtong Highway. Lin Yi got out of the car first, and the gentleman's helped G open the door. Don't forget to tell the other party to give yourself a 5-star praise, and then place an order after the party, and come to pick her up. Ji Tianyan was a little unhappy when he heard it. Although scumbags like sweet words, they are generally good sounding. Unlike him, who knows to be praised all day long, Lin Yi didn't have any intention of coaxing Ji to pour his face. He replied innocently, there is no way. Just point to this bowl of rice. After speaking, Lin Yi waved goodbye to Ji Tianyan and watched her enter the venue. At this time, Lin Wei went online again. Lin Yi achieved the corresponding achievement, rewarded 200,000 proficiency, completed half of the occupation, and rewarded part of the shares of the taxi company. Lin Yi was overjoyed. How many orders did he run? Went directly from a wage earner to a boss. Good things are still to come. Lin Wei told him. The market value of the taxi company in Yangchang is more than 50 billion, and if Lin Yi transfers his equity, he will directly earn 100 billion. Lin Yi listened and directly put his hand on Lin Wei's shoulder. He feels that with the current income, it seems that it is okay not to cash out. It is better to put it in the company and get a dividend of hundreds of millions every year. Lin Wei told Lin Yi that he was halfway through the completion of his career. After completing another 35%, he can start a new class, and when the career completion reaches 100%, there will be more generous rewards waiting for him. Lin Yi's eyes kept shining after listening. At this time, Lin Yi was full of fighting spirit and enthusiasm. He couldn't wait to urge Lin Wei to send him an order. As he was talking, the system assigned a new order to Lin Yi from the Starbucks Bun Store to the list of Kyushu Pavilion villas. Lin Yi couldn't help but sigh again. If people go smoothly, no matter how smooth it is, the route connecting the single is smooth in this way. What is 1 million in 3 years? 100 million can run out. At the same time, the royal sister who was scratching her head at the mobile phone on the other side was Lin Yi's new passenger Su Yan. Lin Yi kicked the accelerator and galloped to Su Yan's side. The wave of air generated by the sudden brake rolled up Su Yan's already short skirt. Lin Yi saw someone and asked tentatively, are you Miss Su with tail number 0389? Su Yan saw that the car he picked up was still a top-level sports car. I was taken aback. Could it be that I was dressed up too well today? So much so that he was targeted by the rich second generation. Then he said lazily, hurry up and get in the car. I don't have much time left. Su Yan was so excited that he couldn't help himself. This rich second generation was so active. Su Yan obediently got into the car and buckled his seat belt. After all, the rich second generation drives very fast. Then, Su Yan took the initiative to introduce himself. After that, he also asked Lin Yi where he wanted to take him. Lin Yi was a little speechless for a moment. Isn't it the car you called? Su Yan couldn't believe that taxis had reached the skyline these days, soliciting with a top-of-the-line sports car. I don't believe it. Lin Yi said, believe it or not, I am a luxury service. After Su Yan heard this, he directly changed his face, but was happy, thinking that he had met the 5th king of diamonds, who turned out to be a camel shanzi pulling a cart. Lin Yi didn't bother to take care of her, and kicked the accelerator towards the goal. Only the non-stop noise in Su Yan's mouth was left on the road. You better drive slowly. You can't afford to break it. Lin Yi was instantly furious. This is my car. I can drive a bumper car, and I'm happy that money is hard to buy. Su Yan laughed at him on the spot. Don't blow it. You think you get me by saying that? Unexpectedly, Lin Yi asked rhetorically. Which I if you saw me blowing? Su Yan used all his life's learning to despise Lin Yi. You're a stinky worker. Stop blowing it. Lin Yi is the least fond of hearing this, and the working people are the most glorious. Aren't you Su Yan also a part-time worker? What is the upper-class sister here? I am 100 million. Look at your strength. The words of the two of them also became more and more noisy. Su Yan said, although I work part-time, I am more noble than you. You are not even worthy of lifting my shoes, and I am tired of talking to you. Lin Yi couldn't bear it anymore and braked suddenly. An emergency brake was given to Pagani, who was galloping, looking at Su Yan, who was still arrogant just now. He had already been strangled by the seat belt and the mask of pain at this moment. Do you break drywall? Lin Yi couldn't bear it anymore. If you are a cow, you will buy your own car and drive. And Lao Tzu will not serve. Then, Lin Yi pushed the car door and scolded Su Yan loudly. Roll over. Baby cow, my Ave passenger. Syetem, who was thrown on the road, was furious, and he dared to provoke the little fairy. I'll give you a bad review complaint package for you to enjoy slowly. When Linny heard it, who did you really take as a master? You scolded me for giving me a bad review. There is a top monitoring on this car, and the sound and picture are uploaded to the background synchronously to see how you can successfully complain. As soon as the words fell, Linny rode into the dust and blasted Syetem's face. Syetem was so angry that he jumped to his feet. You wait for me. After turning his head, Linny returned to Kyushu Pavilion. Almost at the same time, a phone received a reminder of a bad review. Linny took out his mobile phone and looked at it, and sure enough, it was the best passenger just now. Linny, who is a good gentleman, couldn't help but expose his foul language. This woman is really a talent. Unexpectedly, the regional agent of the taxi company also called at this time. Sure enough, it was a phone call from Shinshi to ask about the guild. Across the phone, Linny was scolded by the agent for splitting his head and covering his face. If there is a next time, he will directly deduct your deposit. Linny said arrogantly, whatever you want. What money did I send you? Seeing that it did not apologize at all, the agent directly threatened to cancel the operation qualification. Linny immediately calmed down, and he argued, you will directly revoke my operating qualification without investigating the situation. It's a pity that the agent is impatient and doesn't want to talk to him anymore. Hung up the phone directly. Linny was very depressed. Sure enough, prosperity must decline. Strange things happen every year, and this year's big explosion